Welcome to the deep dive. Think about your day, maybe just so far. Chances are you've already spent, what, hours online,
Easily.
scrolling social media, searching for stuff, maybe buying something. The internet is it's completely woven into our lives now, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's everywhere.
But do we actually get what's happening, beneath the surface, or how far it's sort of drifted from where it started?
That's the big question, really.
So today we're doing a deep dive. We're looking into this document, 2025 Modern Internology Application.pdf. And our mission, basically, is to explore how the internet evolved, sometimes in surprising, maybe unsettling ways. We want to look at its current challenges and this new language that's popping up to even describe it all. We'll try to figure out why the internet today is just so different from what the creators imagined, and importantly, what that means for you.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how this source connects the dots, right from the internet's origins, straight through to the complexities we see now, and even the threats looming ahead. We're going to uncover some, let's say, stark truths about how these online platforms actually work. We'll introduce you to some key terms, terminology you really need to know to understand today's online world.
Okay.
And we'll also touch on the tools, the essential things you need to navigate all this safely. It's pretty critical stuff if you want to be genuinely informed about your own digital life.
Okay, let's unpack that then. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Way back. Where did this all begin?
Yeah.
The source takes us to March 1989. Tim Berners-Lee. He proposes what eventually becomes the World Wide Web.
The very start.
And just try to picture it, right? That first website, it was literally just text and links. That's it.
Yeah.
Designed purely for scientists to share information.
Simple, utilitarian.
Elegant, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The source really hammers home. This massive, complex, sometimes overwhelming internet we use constantly. It was fundamentally never meant for this.
Not even close.
It's supposed to be a tool for collaboration, not this.
Yeah.
Global marketplace, political arena, massive social thing it's become.
Which naturally leads to the question. If it wasn't designed for this, how on earth did we get here? How did it morph into something so powerful and, let's be honest, sometimes destructive?
Yeah.
The source uses this powerful phrase that says Tim Berners-Lee had a kind of profound Oppenheimer moment.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like J. Robert Oppenheimer reflecting after the atomic bomb test. That chilling realization that his invention could become a destroyer of worlds.
That's heavy.
It is. It highlights that his creation, the web, had the potential to be incredibly destructive if it wasn't guided properly or if it fell into the wrong hands.
So it's that same feeling Oppenheimer had, quoting scripture. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Berners-Lee felt something similar.
Apparently so. The source suggests he felt this deep devastation seeing how his invention was being misused, weaponized in ways he just never anticipated. It's not just a metaphor. It underlines the very real, often unintended consequences that can spin out from even well-intentioned tech.
And that connects to the statue at CERN, doesn't it? The source mentioned Shiva.
Exactly. The statue of Shiva at CERN, the birthplace of the web, it's not just decoration. It's positioned there as this potent symbol, a reminder right at the origin point of that duality.
Creation and destruction.
Precisely. In Hinduism, Shiva embodies both. It's an ancient metaphor perfectly capturing the double-edged nature of really powerful technology. It sets a kind of historical context, often missed, that frames these concerns about where things could go wrong and maybe hints at how far it's already gone.
So, okay, it's evolved dramatically, it's complex. How do we even start to get a handle on the internet now?
Well, the source argues that you need the right language. The internet has developed its own vocabulary to describe these modern realities.
Okay.
And knowing these terms is really the key to being properly informed. The source calls this the first series of deep dives looking into these critical online concepts.
So these aren't just buzzwords. They're essential.
Absolutely. This language is crucial for understanding the shifts, sometimes subtle, sometimes not, in how we interact online and how platforms interact with us. Let's dive into a few key ones.
All right. First one. The name itself is pretty memorable, maybe a bit jarring. Enshittification.
Yeah, it's blunt.
What is that? What's happening there? And why would platforms do things that seem to make their own service worse for users?
Right. So enshittification, according to the source, isn't just random decay. It's described as a strategic, deliberate, gradual degradation of online platforms.
Strategic. How so?
Well, think about, say, a social media site or a search engine you use. The source says they often start by offering tons of value. Attract users, attract creators. Maybe they even lose money at first.
Okay, get everyone hooked.
Exactly. Once they have that network effect where everyone's there because everyone else is there, users are kind of locked in, then
Yeah.
the focus changes sharply
Towards making money.
towards extracting value. First, from the users, maybe more ads, pushing paid features. Then from the content creators who need those users. And finally, squeezing the advertisers too.
So the user experience just tanks.
It degrades, yeah. Because the platform's main goal shifts from serving you to serving shareholders, maximizing profit. It helps explain why your favorite apps sometimes feel like they're just getting worse, cluttered, less useful.
Okay, that makes a depressing amount of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And linked to that profit motive, you mentioned dark patterns. Sounds sneaky.
It is sneaky, very much so. Dark patterns are basically intentional trips in the user interface design.
Trips?
Yeah, designs meant to manipulate you or deceive you into doing things you didn't intend to do, things that usually benefit the company. The source stresses they're built to exploit known human psychology or cognitive biases.
Can you give an example? Like, what should we look out for?
Sure. Think about trying to cancel a subscription online. Ever notice how the cancel button might be tiny, grayed out, hidden under menus, maybe requires 5 clicks?
Oh, yeah. While the keep my subscription button is huge and bright green.
Exactly. Or websites that automatically check boxes for newsletters you don't want or sneak extra items into your shopping cart. Those aren't mistakes. They're dark patterns, deliberate choices nudging you towards spending more or giving it more data. They're literally everywhere once you start noticing them.
Wow. Okay, next term. This one sounds a bit sci-fi, but you hear it mentioned. The dead internet theory.
Right. This one's definitely out there, but it taps into a certain feeling some people have.
What's the core idea?
The theory, as the source outlines it, proposes that most of what we see and interact with online isn't actually human anymore. It suggests the vast majority of online activity, comments, posts, maybe even content itself is generated by AI bots.
So humans aren't really driving the conversation.
That's the idea. That algorithms and AI are orchestrating much of the discourse, the trends, everything. If that were true, well, the implications are huge.
How so?
It would fundamentally change how we see online communities, whether digital interactions are genuine, even what constitutes public opinion. You might think you're debating with people, but you're actually interacting mostly with machines. It's a pretty chilling thought, makes the internet seem potentially very lonely and artificial.
And speaking of how information flows, or maybe doesn't flow, echo chambers. We kind of know this one, right?
We do, but the source adds a layer. We all know an echo chamber is where you mostly see stuff that confirms what you already believe.
Right, filters out opposing views.
But the source points out it's not just passive filtering. Algorithms often actively build and reinforce these bubbles. They learn what you like, what you engage with, and then feed you more of the same, making those walls higher.
So it's not just online, but amplified online.
Exactly. It happens offline in social groups too, of course. But online, the algorithms make it incredibly efficient. It limits your perspective, obviously, but it also contributes to broader societal polarization. People just aren't encountering different views as much.
Okay, and one more key term from this first series. Shadow banning. This sounds frustrating.
It's incredibly frustrating for people who experience it, and very controversial. Shadow banning is when a platform, like social media, reduces your content's visibility without telling you.
So you're not actually banned, but kinda?
Sort of. Your posts might still show up for you, maybe a few followers, but they're hidden or drastically downranked in the main feeds for your wider audience. It often happens if the platform system flags your content as borderline problematic, but not enough for a full suspension.
And you wouldn't even know why your views suddenly dropped.
Precisely. It feels like a form of invisible censorship, leaving users completely in the dark, unable to understand or appeal what's happening to their reach.
And the source mentions there are other terms too, right? This is just scratching the surface of this new vocabulary.
Indeed. It's an evolving lexicon. The source briefly touches on others that paint a fuller picture, like planned obsolescence, designing gadgets to break or become outdated fast, pushing you to buy the new model.
Right, my phone's suddenly getting slow after an update.
Could be. Then there's infodemic, which we saw during the pandemic, that overwhelming flood of information, mixing truth and lies, making it super hard to know what's real.
Yeah, that felt intense.
The source also brings up gamification, using game mechanics like points or badges in non-game things. Platforms use it to keep you hooked, maybe subtly shape your behavior.
Making chores feel like a game, but for their benefit.
In a way, yeah. And finally, it touches on internet censorship, citing examples like new rules in South Africa, showing how governments are increasingly trying to control online information within their borders. All these terms together show just how layered and complex the online world has become.
So pulling this together, what does this all mean? For you listening right now, it's clearly not just abstract stuff. It hits home.
Oh, absolutely. It's about real-world impacts. Your privacy, the choices you make, maybe even your wallet, your emotions, it's all affected.
And the source gives some pretty concrete, maybe disturbing examples.
It does. Examples that really highlight how far some platforms might go. It mentions, for instance, a 2012 Facebook experiment. They secretly manipulated the emotional content of the news feeds for almost 700,000 users without consent.
Wow. To see how it affected their posts.
Essentially, yeah, to study emotional contagion. Then the document points out patent applications from Google and Amazon for devices designed to listen for emotions in your voice. Mood shifts, stress levels.
Listening to us to gauge our feelings.
That seems to be the idea behind the patents, yes. These aren't isolated incidents. They point to a broader pattern the source highlights. User manipulation, data exploitation, platforms looking to understand, predict, and maybe even influence our thoughts and feelings.
It really makes you wonder how much is going on that we don't know about.
Exactly. And how much control do we really have in this environment?
And then the source brings up AI, artificial intelligence, and it uses some really strong language, a tsunami, an existential threat.
Yeah, the language is stark. It positions AI not just as another tech development, but as something fundamentally different. The true tsunami heading our way. An existential threat to humanity.
More than just privacy worries or algorithms.
Way beyond that. The source connects it back to that Oppenheimer analogy. It suggests that when, or if, we reach truly sentient AI, artificial general intelligence, Oppenheimer's fear of becoming the destroyer of worlds might seem, well, the source says nice by comparison.
Nice, as in quaint, understated.
Precisely. The argument seems to be that unlike nuclear weapons, which are tools humans control, advanced AI could become an independent agent, something capable of improving itself at an exponential rate, far beyond our ability to comprehend or manage.
An intelligence explosion.
That's the concept. It raises these huge, urgent questions about heading into uncharted territories. What happens to humanity's role? What happens to our control over our destiny, even our existence? The source suggests AI could pose a challenge unlike anything before, potentially as a new form of consciousness.
So the stuff we see now, like deepfakes, biased algorithms.
Yeah.
That's just the beginning.
Just the first ripples, according to this analysis. The prelude to the real tsunami, it's presented as a call for some very serious, immediate thinking about where this is all going.
Okay, that's a lot. It sounds quite bleak, but are there efforts to counter this? To build a better internet?
Yes, thankfully. It's not all doom and gloom. There are people and organizations pushing back, trying to build alternatives. The source highlights Proton's vision as one example.
Proton, the secure email provider.
Right. Their whole mission, born out of CERN, actually, like the web itself, was apparently driven by wanting an internet that puts people first, not profits. Fostering digital freedom, protecting data, preventing data selling, fighting cybercrime.
So building tools and services with privacy and user control baked in from the start.
Exactly. A vision for an internet that serves people, rather than exploiting them.
And that vision needs practical tools, right?
Absolutely. And the source points to those as well, calls them the second series of deep dives. Essential technologies for safety, privacy, security. These are concrete things you can use.
Okay, like what?
Things like secure browsers designed not to track you everywhere.
Okay.
Privacy-focused search engines that don't log your searches to build a profile on you.
ASIC shields.
Foundational shields. Then there's strong protection against malware, spyware, trojans, ransomware. Firewalls are crucial too, acting like a gatekeeper for your network traffic.
Right.
And basics like multi-factor authentication, 2FA, that extra login step is so important now. Plus, password managers. Honestly, they're not just convenient anymore, they're essential for strong, unique passwords everywhere.
Definitely.
And then tools like VPNs, virtual private networks, to encrypt your connection and hide your location, shielding you from surveillance, and secure cloud storage to keep your data safe off your own devices.
So the message is, understand the risks, but also understand the tools available to protect yourself.
Precisely. The source makes it clear. Understanding and using these tools isn't optional anymore if you care about your security and privacy online. It's become critical.
So quite a journey we've taken. From the internet's really simple, almost idealistic beginning
Text and links.
to this incredibly complex, powerful, and yeah, often perilous present. We've uncovered some of the new language needed to even talk about it, and touched on the tools we need to navigate it. It's definitely not the internet its creators first sketched out.
Not at all. And the source leaves us with a pretty stark takeaway. The internet today is not inherently safe. It requires vigilance. And that AI tsunami isn't some distant sci-fi concept. It's accelerating towards us.
Right?
This deep dive, drawing on the source, aimed to give you the information, the context, the vocabulary to understand these dangers better, to help you make more informed choices about your own digital life.
So the final thought really rests with you, the listener.
Yeah. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? How will you adapt? How will you prepare for what's coming in this ever-evolving digital world?